Hello, everyone, and welcome to the most exciting episode of Hotline League that we have ever had in the existence of Hotline League. We've been doing, actually, Mark, you realize that probably this month, it's been about 5 years of doing the show. It's half a decade.
Pog.
Isn't that?
You don't think we don't keep track of any of that, so we can't do any appropriate
celebrations,
anniversary episodes?
No, I mean we did an episode 100 and episode 200 special, so I feel like that's okay. But I mean, I just mean we started like right before Worlds in 2017, a couple months after I lost my job at Yahoo. So I think that's pretty cool.
God, I've been carrying you that long.
Yeah, that's what this relationship is like.
God, I bring home all the bacon in this
relationship. Yes, that is. I forgot how much work you've done on the biz dev side,
the biz dev
side,
end of
the
TGI
branding side. How often you book guests compared to how often I book guests. But you know what? You bring the callers, and that's what counts, because the callers are what make the show. Either way, a shout out to Alienware.
I bring the credibility. That's what I bring.
Yeah, sure. There was a comment that I read on YouTube yesterday or the day before that was like, if Mark's takes on the game and the league are as bad as his takes on Tolkien, I might be tuning out of the show for the rest of its existence. You've been pissing people off with your Rings of Power. Wait, let me shout out Alienware and Grubhub for sponsoring the show, because they deserve it. Thank you, Alienware and Grubhub, for sponsoring the show. Okay, my constant co-host, Mark Zimmerman. How's it going?
Good. So some updates. One, Rings of Power still booty hole. Travis is definitely allergic to saying anything. So I won't justify myself, because God forbid I upset him.
No spoiler. It's not just me. We have a bunch of viewers who don't like to get tuned into the show and get spoiled for something completely unrelated within the first 2 minutes.
I don't even talk about any plot points. I'll just be like, I feel like the plot's going too slowly. I'll be like, spoilers about pacing. Fucking hate you. House of the Dragon also, I feel like I still really enjoy it. I think its characters are much more interesting to me, and I enjoyed the plot. Or I guess I shouldn't say plot, but like I enjoy the show a lot more.
I know what plot in House of the Dragon you enjoy.
This episode was one of the few people have been talking about pacing problems for that show going too quickly for a little bit. I haven't really felt that too much until this episode was one of the few times where I was like, wow, that scene definitely could have used a couple more minutes. Or like they just don't show like the logical progression of like how a scene gets to that point, and you're like, okay, I guess I just accept that happened. So Rings of Power had a couple. Rings of Power. House of the Dragon had a couple hiccups for this week for me as well. Tolkien himself, the audiobook, when he doesn't talk about songs and Sam isn't singing and Frodo and fucking Tom Bombadil, and he's not just going on about whether the path hooked left or right behind the peak of a broken cliff. Like as soon as he starts talking with dialogue or action or world building, even I'll even take his info dumps. It's amazing. Yeah, finished book one of book one. So I started. He just got to spoilers. He got to Rivendell.
Oh boy. We're just.
But yeah, the sequence with the
right here.
It was really good. So yeah, I mean, I like Tolkien. I just
Hotline League episode 1 took place on September 21st, 2017. So it is our anniversary week. No. It was last Wednesday. So like this is our first episode.
Oh, you said September 21st?
September 21st, yes. 2017.
Okay,
yeah. So I off the top of my head, I just fucking nailed it. This is our 5-year anniversary episode. Half a decade, man.
Wow, you should change the title to 5-year anniversary episode. Good thing I didn't tweet the picture out yet of us getting ready.
And that's why, and this is what, guys, for our 5-year anniversary episode, we have a huge announcement that we've perfectly timed for this episode.
Beyond belief.
It's actually, oops, that was a missed opportunity. 5-year anniversary special. Okay, there we go. Hotline League.
A special announcement.
Yes.
For Worlds.
Yes.
At 8:30.
Around 8. Man, you're not supposed to give the time. You're supposed to say in the second half of the show.
Well, now all 540 people here aren't going anywhere because they're like, whoa, what's going on at 8:30?
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say in the second half of the show, we will be doing a big announcement It's very exciting. David S in the
I'll
chat
be
should
back at 8:30. No,
definitely be here. Yeah, if you give them the exactly, you gave them the exact specific time. We're going to be going before
10:40 below
8:30.
if you want to see.
This is why.
If you don't care about this portion of the show, skip to 10.
Mark goes, "Oh yeah, I've been carrying this show forever." Meanwhile, he's just straight up. The beginning of every episode is Mark just spoiling people for major media properties, and then
this season of Cobra Kai is so much better.
Okay,
than
let's
I feel like the last couple of seasons
let's
of
talk
Cobra
about
Kai
our
had
lives.
relied on love triangles and teenage drama. This season is way funnier. I don't know if they brought in new writers or what, but the last couple of seasons of Cobra Kai, I'll be honest, I actually didn't even really like. I'm loving this one.
How's it?
I watched episode 1 of the rehearsal. It was really good. It was. I'm scared about how unhinged it's going to get, but I'm ready for the ride.
Mark, how are you dealing with the fact that we're both going to New York next week for perhaps a long period of time?
Not thinking about it yet.
Okay, because I just booked a haircut today. I booked a COVID booster. Have you gotten the COVID booster yet?
No.
You should get the COVID booster before you do this. Yeah, you can. If it's been more than 2 months since your last one, I didn't think it because I got mine like 5 months ago, and I was worried I wouldn't have it in time for Worlds. But you should do it because it would suck if you were unable to do Worlds stuff.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's why I did it. I mean, for other reasons as well, but that's why I pushed to make sure I got it before I traveled because that would be unfortunate. So anyway,
well, I'm casting on. Well, I shouldn't. I guess this is spoilers. I'm working play-ins of Worlds. The talent announcement went out. I'm on.
I think
Thursday,
you're probably fine.
If I get one tomorrow, you think I'll be feeling good enough?
Oh no! You'll feel like shit, but you should definitely do it.
Well, I just don't know when I'm going to do it because I'm like the games go until next Tuesday.
Do you cast every day?
And then we fly out on Thursday.
Do you cast every day?
I don't cast every day, but I don't think there's like a clear window.
Do it. Like if you do it on one day, then the next day you can be checked out. Like I'm getting mine on Wednesday, and then Thursday I've cleared my whole schedule because it's going to feel awful. Yeah, I'm not going to Mexico City. I'm sorry. Mark is also not going to Mexico City. I wish it had made sense, but it did not, unfortunately. Okay.
And for me, the casting's being from LA. So
yeah. Anyway. But I'm just spending the week getting ready, I guess, for a very long trip, which we'll talk about later. Anyway, what do we got to talk about in this week's episode, Mark? I think this is our official pre-Worlds episode because play-in starts.
This is officially the pre-Worlds episode. So I want to hear your takes about what's going to happen with EG, Fnatic, Mad Lions, if anyone's going to upset them, DRX. I've done most of my prep at this point, so like I can actually comment on things. Thank God, I finished all my major regions and some of the minor regions. I want to grind a couple more, but I can actually comment on things now. Feel relatively well equipped to. I feel like we can talk about RNG, obviously, just like how we think things are going to be. I don't think we want to get too far into group stage because we'll do another episode next week after play-ins finishes. But like Champions Queue has started. We've watched Niski get shit on by Jojo Pune. That LEC MVP can't even handle Jojo. Mad Lions are doomed. Fnatic's exploding. Their roster is not going to be here. If you saw the news for that.
Well, parts of their roster, yeah.
Part of their roster, yeah.
Yeah. They're going to have some subs, emergency subs.
Yeah, from Fnatic's ERL team.
Rux, I'm just surprised that guy's still playing because it's been so long.
Not the ex Rux, who was a Fortnite. I think he didn't he win some money?
Yeah, I think he did Fortnite stuff. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So there's a lot of things to talk about this
Star Walking. I actually do
Star Walking.
I'm okay to take a couple calls about Star Walking. Even though I think it's very funny because I feel like it's tough to talk about Star Walking because everybody's response is basically like, it's a good song, but it doesn't necessarily feel like a Worlds anthem.
I feel like did you see the Reddit post? I was like, Star Walking has done the impossible.
Yes, everyone agrees that, like, on a very neutral opinion.
Yeah, everyone comes together for the same opinion. And it's never happened before.
Right.
The elephant in the room as well as the Carlos stuff. Last we talked about it, he had not stepped down. He was on the 2-week break. And I remember I look like an idiot now because I was like, Oh, I doubt anything that serious.
I mean,
will come from
I
this, and
disagree. I hope I disagreed with you on that because I've been behind the scenes. I was like, I can't imagine. I mean, I think it was also before they didn't make Val because
that was
Val.
I said that before they didn't make Valorant, and
Yeah.
so my perception was like a lot of things that people bitch and moan about on the internet is like a new drama thing will happen next
Yeah.
week, and we'll stop caring during his 2 weeks of silence time. But I
Dose
guess
Engage
that
says
was very wrong.
talk about Dig and Sentinels. So whenever I retweeted that, I did say that I hadn't heard anything to that effect, but I since then the person has deleted their tweet because there was a rumor that from one of the anonymous Twitter accounts named after Pokemon, not Wooloo, that Dig was going to sell to Sentinels, that it fell through. I retweeted it with a pithy remark, which angered some people at Dignitas. But the that person now deleted their tweet, and I'd heard privately later on that was never a thing. So yeah, there's nothing to really talk about with the Dig Sentinel stuff, but happy to mention it here just in case people saw that tweet and thought it was true. Okay. What else? I think other than that, oh, go ahead. Oh, Champions Queue?
Well, so Champions Queue, I kind of mentioned that already with Niski and stuff. I pulled a caller. You tell me if you like it, about the idea of like, as well as how rabid the fan base is to hop onto incorrect news, supposedly, kind of, because there was not only did the Carlos stuff happen, but there's also the debacle today about did Riot force him to sell or not,
Yeah. I don't know if there's too much to talk. Maybe that's a short call, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just worth taking a little bit. We'll see what we say.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm
pulling callers now.
Okay. Mark is pulling callers. But yeah, it'd be great to hear some. I think if anybody has, we won't necessarily talk about group stage, but if anybody has like something that feels more specific to like Worlds starting, like maybe not even just plans, but like I'm excited about Worlds this year because X or Y, or we can have the general conversations about this is NA's Worlds or it's going to be not, or I don't know, stuff like that. Maybe potentially teams or players you're excited to see like at Worlds. I think any of that stuff should be pretty good. So again, try to make sure like here's the tip, guys. When Mark and I are like programming the show with your calls, we have to think about the fact that there's going to be like a bunch more episodes of Worlds Hotline Leagues. So it's not always the best.
For example,
if you're
Savage Sean, I appreciate the take. I appreciate the optimism. The West is not doomed. C9, Rogue, and G2 will all make it out of groups. None of them are fucking playing this week. That's a next week topic. I appreciate the enthusiasm. I appreciate you coming in here and dropping your take. I'm not going to touch that take.
But Mark, would you take a general take that's like NA's actually super underrated going into Worlds, and here's why?
I would take a general West is not doomed take, but I think if your argument is and please just be honest about it, because we'll have these topics next week. But if the crux of your argument is about specifically things about groups, I don't want to hear it just because we're going to talk about that. But if you're like, no, I've watched these other regions and blah 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 blah, if it's about more regional reasoning than specifically groups. There's also someone who said, my take is that everything about Worlds is terrible this year. And someone responded with emojis and spelled out Doomer.
Should get both of those people in the same call.
No, I don't know who spelled out Doomer with emojis.
It's pretty good. Okay. While Mark is filling up the waiting room with your takes, which, by the way, if you want to know how to get on the show, I'll do ! instructions in the chat. That gives you the breakdown, and then you can also do ! Discord. And by the way, just as a general assessment, because I see this shit all the time, if you are not happy with the calls that we get on the show, then you should call in, because the whole point of the show is we can only do with what we have, and so if you think some of these takes are bad, then it's your job to call in with another take. We do this in partnership with all of you, okay? So
if the show is bad, it's because you're bad.
Yes, exactly. And it's not because we're bad. That's where we can always push it back to you guys.
Master sculptor, and you have given me fucking, I don't know, what's a bad rock to sculpt with? What's that
Granite.
Really cheap, like one, like slate? You gave me slate to sculpt with. Like, it's just gonna chip and break. I can't
Obsidian?
do anything. Slate? Isn't that like a kind of rock, slate rock.
I don't know. Are you
Yeah,
Googling slate now
it's
rather
kind of
than
rock.
moving people
Slate,
into the waiting room?
fine-grained clay metamorphic rock that cleaves or splits readily into thin slabs, having great tensile strength and durability. Yeah,
All right.
I know
Shout
my
out
shit.
to Mark, please. Waiting room.
Rawnblade is muted. Rawnblade, I want to take you first if you're listening. Please unmute yourself in the waiting room.
Kissboy, thank you. Bronze Star, Elmo Kill for 1 year. Trevor Monreal, Yeshua, Bronze Star, Wooden Post, the Hung Stepbro with the 5 gifted. Thank you. Lord of Down, Lan 7J, Warden Winter for 1 year. Fine. Wait, only at 1 year, Warden? I feel like you've been around longer than that. Inuber, Jay Senny, Perchy, and Skeletor. By the way, I'm just joking for those that don't know. I like Warden Winter, and so that's why I feel like I can make those comments, but sometimes YouTubers don't know. Anyway, I'm ready, Mark. And Rawnblade is here. Rawnblade, where are you calling from?
Sydney, Australia.
Sydney, Australia. You've been on the show a couple times before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about?
So my take is that Riot took a risk on the World song this year, and it paid off in terms of the song, but then they played it safe on the video and undercut it completely.
Okay. Yeah, so we're talking about Star Walkin' by Lil Nas X, who I've met.
Yeah,
anyway,
absolutely.
What do you want? Why do you have this opinion?
So basically, I was really excited that they were doing something different this year. I think for the last few years, I don't know if it was just because Rise was so successful that they were like, okay, every World song has to be kind of a vanilla, heavy song where we have some general sentiment that like we're achieving things and we've got electric guitars and it's kind of medium pace. And I don't know, I personally had gotten a bit bored of that stuff. And so I was excited that they were doing something different. And I thought that Star Walkin' is a pretty great song and there's a lot they could have done with it. But then for the video, it was kind of like they just wanted to do the same thing again. It was like they were scared that, oh, we're changing up the song, we better keep the video the same. But then in the end, that just means it feels like the video and the song are in two different universes. And it's not the animation is bad or anything like that, but they just don't sync together. And so then I think the song, a lot of the reaction to the song comes off the fact that the video is pulling it down rather than lifting it up. Whereas, say, for example, like Rise, I firmly believe that without that killer video, Rise would have been just another song in the mix. But instead, like that video really lifted that song. And now Rise is a classic in the scene. So I just think that maybe, hopefully next year, they think about a different approach with the video as well. Because it just seems to me that the kind of animated players stuff is, unless they can find something new to do with it, it felt like this year it was just like, hey, look, here are the players. Some of them will be at Worlds maybe. And I don't know, I think that they've just run out of ideas. But I mean, obviously they started at a really high point when they started animating players. I think Rise was so strong. The storytelling of Ambition's story was really powerful, but then it feels like they've kind of been chipping away at that idea since then. And now they've landed on something that's less than the sum of its parts.
Rawnblade, question for you. What is your general like age range? Like, are you early 20s, early 30s?
Early 30s.
Okay, so then you should be, I assume this made the jump across the Pacific, you should be familiar with like All the Small Things by Blink-182.
Oh, yeah.
And The Middle by Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah.
Wait, where are you going with this, Travis?
All these songs.
I'm literally flying to America in a couple of weeks to go to When We Were Young. So. Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice. Okay, perfect. Also to Worlds?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm not sure how convincing it was, but regardless. Okay, so those
What's your
songs
point, Travis?
felt like anthems to me, right? Like as Travis Gafford in junior high performing a lip sync of this song in front of my 6th grade class, All the Small Things with a friend of mine. I felt like this was like an anthem, and so my issue with Star Walkin' is while I do like the song, it does not feel like an anthem, which is ironic because previously, what, Mark?
Nothing. Just still picturing you in 6th grade lip syncing.
Yeah, we built we made like my buddy.
The less
Ryan
I know,
Nowicki
the
and I
better.
made cardboards and we cut them cardboard guitars.
I believe
and we
you.
put
That
them
sounds
out as a
incredible.
Performance. We brought the house down. Anyway, the point is that it's ironic because I think Lil Nas X generally produces a lot of music. All of his like main hits and bangers are like songs that feel like anthems, which is why one of them was used by 100T and Riot and Ovely previously for a lot of the stuff. I don't feel like Star Walkin' feels that way. It's still a good song, and I know what you mean by the fact that like they took a risk, because I think a lot of their songs started to feel, a lot of the previous Worlds anthems started to feel like, oh, you could just like swap them all out or pit them over each other's videos and it feels really good. But that's my issue with the song. I think in terms of the video, I bet you part of the reason why the video feels like it's disconnected is because they probably did the video in the same kind of pacing that they have done for all their previous Worlds anthems, thinking that it would feel like an anthem, and then it doesn't feel that way. And so, I mean, one of the big criticisms I read was like, oh, the music or the video like kind of peaks at the time whenever the song is falling down. So, yeah.
All right, so I got a lot of things to respond to in this. First off, previous Worlds songs, they were not heavy, my guy. I don't know what you're listening to, but you put on some like real pop punk, post-hardcore, death metal. Man, there's not even a single fucking breakdown in there. No one's screaming. You got like the softest, most washed out screams in the background when you have fucking Jeremy McKinnon from A Day to Remember in there. There's no actual guitars.
You missed the part where I said they were vanilla. It was like someone has listened to heavy music once.
I know, but it's not heavy music, man. Like that's just some fucking pop music. It's really
I
like
agree.
they don't even have a solo. Like you're talking about the guitars, they don't even let the instruments shine for a moment. And don't get me wrong, I like a lot of those songs. I'm just saying, like, I don't think anyone who likes rock music is gonna be like, yeah, those ones killed it for like a rock sound, for me at least. Could be wrong. That's neither here or there. I agree with your main point though about like the songs had gotten very vanilla in the sense that they were all doing the same thing and trying to be the same thing. And I think the video did try to do that as well, but I think it just did it very poorly. Like there's a lot of shots in there that I just don't get. Like they have the cup spinning as a purple thing like 3 different times in the video. It's clearly just filler to pad it out to match the length of the song. But it's just speaks to it not being storyboarded well or something, you know, like I don't exactly know why we're being padded with like just a spinning purple trophy 3 times before the one actual wipe. Why did you pull Raz in here?
Because he's our guest co-host for the night now.
Surprise guest.
Whatever. I'm gonna ignore the fact that Raz got here, and I'm gonna finish. I'm not being Kanye'd right now.
I'm not gonna say anything until you're done.
Okay, so I think the video itself had problems where it's a lot of people standing around and doing like little movements that aren't cool. Whereas if you look at just Burn It All Down, which song I thought was rather forgettable, but the video, to Rawnblade's point, elevated it, where like you're watching fucking Chovy and Showmaker like throw down, you know, like that was hype as shit. And that was happening in the first chorus and in the second chorus. They didn't wait till the end. And so you have this huge buildup for the entire song of these mechs being built and walking down the street. They all do one little move and there's no actual fight. So like we had gotten fight after fight after fight after fight at all these videos, and this one just didn't have a fight. It was just people like standing there anime posing for 3 minutes or 2.5. So like the fact that the video and the song didn't line up like Travis said is true, but I think that the video itself was just weak conceptually, at least for me. And I would love if you want to go more unique, I'm so down with that. That's my whole angle with this is like, yeah, I agree. This song for me is not a Worlds anthem. It doesn't get me hyped. It doesn't speak to like the event in any particular way. It's just a good song that I've actually enjoyed more than like Burn It All Down or Takeover, which I just thought were both very bland. I actually like this song a little bit, but like I'm definitely not like juiced to go play League during it. But I would love if they actually took everything in a new direction. Like, what if you did a Worlds hype video that was like a oneer? You know, it can be animated still. It doesn't have to be like real, but like a oneer where you're following someone like getting ready to go on stage, and the song is like, instead of being this hype building, slow build to a bridge into a chorus that gets the slow drop poppy part, you do like a building up song the whole way through, more akin to things like, it doesn't have to be exactly explosions in the sky, but like something that is this like build up that works with a oneer, you know, and have like a really different angle to what this kind of looks like. A oneer, it's not oneer like that. It's a film term when you have a single take shot. They're not all actually single take, but like the camera doesn't cut. It just follows the action. Awaken wasn't a oneer really. There were a lot of cuts there. But either way, Travis, you're echoing a lot for me, by the way.
Oh, really?
In Discord. So either way, my point is like, I'm so down for them to go in new directions and take risks. I hope that the reaction to this even my own criticism of it doesn't push Riot away from trying shit. I just think that it didn't work this time, and that's okay.
All right, welcome to the show, Raz.
Thank
It's
you.
time as our official co-host for the episode. What's your take on this, Raz?
So I do think that they took more of a risk with the song, but Riot progressively has been taking less risks with the videos. People across the sea will say that the best Riot video that we've had hyping up Worlds was Rise, and Rise was able to build a cohesive storyline. I need to do something to mute Skype, but
My bad. Sorry, I'll stop typing in it.
thank you. But yeah, it's my new PC, so I need to do that anyways. But yeah, it had a cohesive storyline because it was telling a story that already happened. It was last year's World. Like, it was the year before when Ambition won, when Samsung won. So it had all of the members that were working there, who were like, even like the Yasuo from, I think it was Perks. And it really told a great storyline. Uzi's Vayne, I mean, just simply because Samsung actually lost in the quarterfinals for all of that. And to speed that up, it had an amazing storyline. And then from that point forward, it started telling stories of players that, you know, they like prospects, I guess. They were choosing players that they don't know if they're going to win, but they were like, maybe they'll be there. Maybe like Reckless in the year before was one, which of course G2 didn't make it. So it was just a random Reckless that was in a Worlds video. This time it was Core JJ, and it was a random Core JJ in a Worlds video. And that's one problem. That's not my biggest problem. My biggest problem is that they started to move away from the game and from moments that people can connect to. There was a lot of those in Rise. It started to get a little bit faded. My favorite one was actually Ignite. I felt like people at that moment liked Ignite mostly because of the video. But of course, people were more objective to the song not hitting the things that they wanted.
Yeah.
But the video was beautiful for Ignite. It had so many specific nuggets and moments within World's history, including the Kazakhs from OMG, all of these moments that you remember. And then it just starts getting worse. The years before, what was it? God, I can't even remember what it was. It was like Little All Burn or something like that. And then there was one,
Burn It All Down, the
Burn
part
It
of
All
the song,
Down.
or whatever.
And then there was one in particular where this kid who's supposed to signify you has like a coin or something that Faker gives, and he's like going through different elements.
Takeover, yeah.
That was Takeover. These are shit, in my opinion. I don't like it. And then now we're seeing them to the point that you had made, Mark, which was just this current video be about, I guess, regional representation. They're surrounded by like, oh, their region or teams or, you know, fans or something like that. And then they have mechs that are supposed to signify the champion that they vibe with, but Core JJ's on Rel. And I'm like, okay, this maybe made sense at the beginning of the season, of the beginning of the year in January. Hell no, I have no memories of Core JJ on Rel now. That's not a champion that I identify with him. It just, for me, I think it's extremely hard, impossible to have a connector with the fans when you're trying to predict a year in advance. To me, I think that's really difficult. And I think they've also moved away from game elements, technically. Sure, they're on Megazords or something like that, going down San Francisco. But yeah, there's an element of the song just not matching this at all. Because Star Walking, at least for me, I actually thought of it more of an anthem. Because a lot of the chorus, people will specifically focus on, I'm not going to say it on your word, Travis, the N-word. I can say it anytime. I'm not going to do it just for you, Travis. Just for you. but and then I'm saying condom. Like, people are focusing on that. But the bulk of the actual lyrics does signify, for me, a world song. And it kind of reminds me of Nikki Yanofsky's song for the Olympics when they were in Canada. People can kind of check that out if they want to. It was like a slower song. It was a bit of a ramp up, but it's not like a Skrillex drop or something. I think people would be more tied to the song if the video made sense for it.
Yeah.
If the video made sense. So I think the video and the song didn't tie well. And then also the storytelling was just the worst that I've seen of any Worlds video.
Braz, by the way, sorry, I hate to interrupt you, man, but you keep talking away from your microphone. You'll lean over to your microphone and then you'll move your mouth and talk.
Twitch chat's on the wrong side of the mic.
Audio's all
My
over
bad.
the place right now. Yeah.
My bad.
You're good. That's so much better. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so my you got me at the end of it though. My rant is done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you completely in the sense that, like, I feel like if you had a video that played to the song's strengths about, like, never giving up, you know, which is kind of like what the chorus is about.
Yeah.
And, like, believing in yourself for whatever. Like, if the video reflected that thematically somehow, but it doesn't, it's about regional representation. So, like,
Imagine
it's random as hell.
If it was about, kind of similar to Rise, about last year's winner, about Mako, somebody who's been on the team for a long ass time and never won a Worlds up until that moment. Like, talking about never giving up, walking on the stars.
Flandre as well, yeah.
Flandre, like, you can hit a story like that and people can connect to that so much harder. I would be able to connect to that so much harder. And it would remind me of, like, holy shit, there are so many players out there that want to, quote unquote, walk amongst their stars and finally get a championship and be there. Like, but that video didn't hit that. So
yeah, I mean, to the point about as well, like, I think people would be more accepting of different songs if the things were all cohesive. Like, I always think back to the Dead Island trailer as, like, one of the greatest things I've ever seen, because, like, there's no reason that video should, like, be a hype piece that makes you want to play a game. It's like a sad mini movie about a family dying in a zombie attack played backwards with no music, like no vocals, just a sad orchestral song. But it's like the greatest short film ever made almost. And so, like, yeah, people don't give a fuck, but everyone wanted to play Dead Island after that, even though it was not hype running around murking zombies, you know? Like, I think if you made a cool world song that was, like, even slow paced, but, like, told a beautiful story, people would be down.
Yes.
Well, we've
And
talked.
I do think it will grow on people.
It will. I know. I mean, what happens is, I don't know if the video will grow on people, but the song will play and get associated with really cool memories and moments, because they always, like, whenever these songs first come out, I always want to listen to them as little as possible, because I know that over the next 30 days I will hear this song played constantly on the broadcast.
Dude, in client, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of slaps when I load into client and you hear the do 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 do.
Yeah. Yes, and
It's
so
I was confused at the beginning. I was like, I don't have Spotify on. I've already listened to the song 10,000 times. And I actually should have done that too, Travis. I agree. I actually should not have listened to it as much as I have, because once World starts, it's tiring.
That's what happened to me, and I learned that lesson in 2015 when I did all of European Worlds. It was 2015, right? And I just heard, like, Nikki Taylor's voice all the time, which was not. It was not like it was bad, but it was just like for an entire month, the song was constantly playing. So anyway. We've talked this to death. Rawnblade, any kind of rebuttals or anything? I'm sorry, I know that I did not expect Mark and Raz to pop off so much, but anything you wanna say in response?
No, I feel like Mark and Raz covered most of the things I feel as well. I guess the only other thing I'd say is that there's a lot of missed opportunities with the Lil Nas connection. I thought the pre-video was so good, so fun, and then to not really have him feature in the video, or I also thought, with the lines that they censored or whatever, that would have been an easy win to just, like, chop in a couple of lines that are more world specific or something. So I just feel like there was some easy things they could have done that would have elevated all of that as well.
Well, I also just wonder how hard it is to tell Lil Nas X, like, hello, we would like to change elements of your song. I don't know. I think that's one of the downsides too of picking, like, a bigger name, is that there's a pretty good chance that the bigger the name, the harder it is to collaborate, I guess, right?
I mean, Lil Nas feels like he's up for a lot. I mean, and dare I say, I really love Lil Nas, but it's not like his lyrics are the thing that, like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just saying, I feel like he would have come to the table if they'd maybe given him the option to do something cool there.
Instead of condom, could you say control word?
Since my daddy didn't wear a control ward? What?
Hey, safety first. Place your
Didn't
control
drop a
words
control
if you
word?
don't want a semen invading. I don't know.
Okay, let's move on. Rawnblade, thank you for the call. Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Yeah, Just two shout outs. One to you, Travis, for bringing up the stuff around Worlds tickets the whole time. I am coming from Australia to Worlds. I'm going to be there for the last couple of days of group stage and the first couple of days of quarters. And it was infuriating trying to make plans and figure out if I'd even be able to go. And so just thank you for your advocacy in that area. And the other thing is just a reminder to the good people like Raz. I think maybe Fudge needs to hear this as well, that sometimes when they're tweeting, I think they may be forgetting that those tweets are on their main. And just maybe,
was
maybe
about
remember
to say,
that one.
after that last comment from Raz, Travis, did you see Raz's fucking tweet?
Is it safe for the show? We have a lot of wonderful partners that are watching the show tonight.
I'm not sure. Sponsor safe.
Which
Raz
Yeah.
wasn't
He's
hazard to
no
have
sponsor
on.
safe.
He's gonna get Carlos.
Okay,
Which
yeah, let's
tweet?
not.
But
Let's
also, yeah,
move on.
I'm as a fellow Australian, I'm worried that Fudge is going to get himself into some trouble. So
Yeah,
maybe
we'll see.
just,
We'll see. All right, thanks so much for the call, Rawnblade, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thanks, team. Bye.
See ya. All right, cool. Let's take a quick break, actually, to talk about Alienware. Shout out to Alienware. We love them so much. They've got some really great new monitors that are available on their website. You can go to alienware.com/Travis to check out their products. And if you do, especially if you're in North America, a portion of that sale will help fund things. Mark was at the start of the show, or maybe it was before the start of the show, I forget, talking about just how fun it was booking hotel rooms for New York. And yeah, it's expensive. This is gonna be the most expensive Worlds I have ever covered. And so,
can I say something?
is it gonna be positive, Raz?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
Just yesterday, I got 3 Alienware monitors on the way because I've had 2 monitors that stuck with me for a very long time. They're old, and so I needed a new pair, and they're on the way. Great cost for the quality. I'm sure that will come my way. So expect images.
Awesome. Thank you. No, I really appreciate it because, yeah, Raz reached out to me yesterday, and he used my code or my link, alienware.com/Travis, to be able to help support me. So maybe I owe him like coffee or something in New York. I don't know. But regardless, it's really cool to see people pick up these Alienware products. Thank you to all of you who shout them out. I'm sure I will talk to many of you at Hotline League. You always come up to me and you say, oh, I bought an Alienware laptop because of you, or an Alienware desktop, monitor, etc., etc. If you do, please go through alienware.com/Travis because they track all that stuff there, so they know that if you're purchasing it because of your support of the show or my content, it's all good. So thank you so much to everybody, and thank you to Alienware for sponsoring the show. All right, let's move on to the next caller.
Yeah, I'm talking to the mic. That's crazy.
Mark is off to grab them. Thank you to Skeletor, John G, 365 for 28 months, Magnarius, Flares TSTV, Darking for 56, Killer of Heroes, Geronimo for 1 year, and then also gifted a sub to Raz. Geronimo did. I'm sure Raz will appreciate that. And then Retro Paint as well for the Prime. HorizonCasts is here, who also subbed earlier today. Horizon, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So kind of regarding the situation that kind of developed today, which has been a continuation of a situation going on for a long time now, regarding the false news about Riot forcing Carlos to sell his shares in G2, in that it shows an over-eagerness in the League of Legends community to believe sensational news without waiting for multiple trustworthy sources to verify it. And on the flip side of that coin, it also shows a lack of journalistic integrity in news sources that care more about being first than they do about being correct, often to the detriment of the subject that they're reporting on.
So I want to be careful here because my understanding, like, it's a bit of a complicated situation because this was first spoken of in a different language, and then it got kind of translated over. And my understanding was that there was the conversation I had seen around it was that there was a mistranslation, and so I don't want to blame any particular media outlet for this if something got incorrectly translated. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So that's the only sort of thing I want to put out there. But for those that do not know, word kind of spread pretty quickly today after an early morning Pacific time tweet that Esports Maniacos had supposedly said that Carlos was being forced to sell his shares in G2 following his departure as CEO and following the scandal last week that we talked on last week's episode, because he was departing. So the idea was that Riot was going to be forcing him to do this, and everybody kind of reacted to it, and then it quickly became clear that it was not. That was not the case, and that it was actually potentially G2 that reportedly are causing him to do this. So.
Do we
know
if it's for sure a mistranslation?
No, because I don't speak that or read that language, so I haven't been able to check it. But
yes, so, asterisk, because like I've seen a couple other people's translation of it before, and like the tweet that blew up definitely worded it differently than how the esports maniaco guy did. Like they definitely put their own spin on it, and like the story started getting a little different, but I'm not sure if it's also that far from what has probably happened. I saw Horizon wanted to get in, so before I speculate wildly, I'll let Horizon get in here.
Yeah. So the reason I have this take, especially with the way I have it right now, is, obviously with news sources, they're playing the battle where, they want to have the accurate information, but they also want to be first at the same time. And sometimes trying to verify accuracy slows you down, and that means that you're not the first to get the news out. But the problem with this is the time between which the original tweet went out, and then the time at which it was revealed that there may have been a mistranslation, to the point where Riot had to basically verify that they were not doing it, was really, really short in terms of how quickly it developed, to the point where you have like a lot of online personalities that are already jumping in on this, and the whole thing develops into a situation where it's just blatantly false. And then, you have people throwing accusations left and right about, oh, Riot, how could you do this? Or, people end up taking sides on an issue that's not even an issue. And it's comes down to someone just not taking their time to verify multiple sources. It's like, one source does not make a story. I'm sure everyone here that's done journalism to any degree understands that. So that's my problem with it, is just how quickly it became vicious.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple different factors there. One is a lot of what you're talking about just comes down to the internet and how quickly information gets transferred and pushed around within the space these days. Like, I mean, if anything similar happened in traditional sports, I imagine it would move just as quickly. Because tweets just kind of take off. They get retweeted, they get quote tweeted, and kind of before people have had a chance to come out and double check sources or whatever. I feel like it's a broader issue. That's not to say it's not an issue. I'm not trying to downplay it. It's something that extends outside of the space. I think the other thing is there's just a lot of people who want to take jabs at Riot Games because they have personal grudges against them. They've had things that I think are very reasonable that have happened to them previously by Riot. Like, there's a lot of different things that have happened, and so people love to immediately have that use Riot as like a punching bag. And then there's a ton of fans that want to that follow those people religiously because they eat up like the sort of anti-Riot sentiment and all that stuff. They really want to be negative, and so they're always going to latch onto it. So it's a tough situation where, like, I agree with you. It's like bad that this stuff happens. I don't think that there's probably going to be a solution to it ever, because it's not like those people are going to end their grudges with Riot, and it's not like Twitter is going to stop being a place where you can hit retweet without verifying. And so I appreciate the call out. I just wonder, does it mean anything at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Jaded.
So I have a pretty strong feeling on this about not this just like that. So a lot of people in chat are saying there wasn't a mistranslation. I don't know. I don't speak Spanish. People are saying there wasn't one. I heard from the translation I saw that was accurate was that Esports Monaco said that Carlos had been blacklisted, and then someone took that to say that Riot forced him to sell his shares, which is like maybe splitting hairs. It's not directly the same translation, so whether or not that's a mistranslation to people, I don't know. And then the thing that really, I think, spun up the whole like journalists getting ahead of themselves was Riot Max the X saying that the LEC has not requested Carlos resign from G2 nor divest his ownership. They opened a thing during last week. But like, I don't know. And this is my tinfoil hat theory, but like when you get blacklisted by Riot, I don't think it would be him deciding that. I could be wrong, but like when Badawi got blacklisted and was barred from being a part of the ownership of any organization and working with them that was adjacent to Riot. Like I don't know if that was just like, I assume that was global deciding that. Not
I don't.
regional.
One, I don't think that there was as clear of a delineation back in the day between NA and global, to be honest, Mark. But I do think LCS did work on that stuff. But
Sure.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, so for in this situation, that might not be the exact right idea, but like when you get blacklisted by Riot, you're not allowed to touch any, like you're not allowed to be a part of any of the things that they're then working on, which is what Papa's saying is a similar thing that happened with Bjergsen Global versus what LCS did. And so I would speculate here, LEC was not the one who made this decision. I assume Riot said, hey, we're not going to accept Carlos on the Valorant team, and he's now blacklisted, and that might have repercussions on the LEC league side as well. And so even though Max wasn't the one saying we're doing this, it could also still be true that Riot basically had a hand in like helping the investors make the decision to probably be the ones that actually forced Carlos out, if he was forced out and it wasn't his choice at all. It's still a little hard to say, but like I could easily see a world where global / Valorant head / other people blacklist him. It becomes just a Riot wide rule about Carlos, and then he's kind of forced out by his own company because they're like, well, we care more about keeping the LEC spot than you, or something like that. So I don't
think that Riot, I mean, I don't think that there's a situation where Riot was responsible directly for him having to sell his shares. Like I think what you're saying, Mark, is true. I just want to be clear. Like I think what likely happened was they're like, this guy's a liability, and we don't want him associated with the team right now because of the fact that he cost us the Val spot, the fact that he, I'm sure there were sponsors that were pretty upset with the team. So like, I think that's really what got him out. I don't think that there was ever a time where I don't think this is what you're saying, but I don't even think Global would have told.
Right. So some people are saying that underneath Max clarify when people said LEC didn't request, Riot did. He said no. I'm not saying Riot blacklisted him from Valorant, let's say, or they said that we're not going to work with you because Carlos is there, which then made the investors at G2 do it. Riot didn't go to them and say, hey, get rid of him. And I think that's what Max is saying Riot didn't do. Riot did not request Carlos's removal. They just said, we're not going to work with this guy.
Right.
And then G2 made the choice, which like isn't forcing them to, but it's all like, I can see how all these stories are like kind of different shades of true. Like, yeah, Riot didn't say this, like Max is saying, but they also kind of forced the situation by denying the Valorant spot.
Yeah, and going into this a little bit, going back to kind of like the original question, I don't see any issues with what Esports Maniacos are doing, since it seems like it was just a hard mistranslation. So I wouldn't blame them at all. I think the community fervor will always push something the moment someone translates something that is not accessible to a large audience, which is like English, and I'm sure the French community would love to know too. G2 has a huge fan base. I will say, just looking at it, this is just a personal preference, but like a lot of the times it seems like just going through their account, they just do a lot of Twitch streams to get to break news and talk about it, which just makes these situations much more harder, especially if it's like you need to watch their response to somebody that had falsely translated the news. There's one person that says, according to Esports Maniacos, Riot has blacklisted Carlos and forced him to sell his shares. And the response to that was, we recommend you watch the 40-minute long of talking. The topic is more complicated than force him to. Well, not a lot of people are going to be watching the 40 minutes, especially if they are not Spanish speaking. So
yeah, but I've had stuff clipped out of context too on this show, right? Where like the
I
the
think
fucking Core JJ and Bjergsen thing, where everybody thought I was saying that they hate each other, despite me saying that they don't hate each other.
Yeah.
So
I personally would love written. Whenever you have a story out this is just a small thing. I would also like a written kind of confirmation as well. But yeah, I think they're just in a tough position because it seems like the way they deliver news is through a long podcast that no one has the patience for or the linguistic ability to catch. And that happens. But yeah. In short, it sucks. In long, it's not really their fault at all.
I'll say this just because I feel like I might have not spoken clearly because enough people in Twitch chat are confused. I'm not saying Riot forced him to sell. I'm saying it appears, since no one has contested this point, that Riot declined their spot because of the Carlos drama, and that then made the investors make the choice that they made.
Yeah.
So like, all this can sort of be true, where like Riot didn't say, "Hey, you have to leave G2," and G2, seeing the effect that Carlos was having, removed him. Like it's, and then they'll say, "Oh yeah, well we did it because of Riot," but it, you know, like it starts getting really murky with, to the point, just like language not always being super clear.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's perhaps they were discussing a domino effect that occurred, and then it ends up. Yeah. Okay. Horizon, you were going to say something, I think.
I have a question, and specifically for Mark and for Raz, just because you guys are in the know of how Riot kind of does things a little bit better than anybody else, and then probably Travis as well. So on a technicality, Carlos didn't break any of the league rules. You know, obviously his choice of company was not great by any stretch of the imagination, but he didn't break any of Riot's TOS or rules like that in terms of how they run the league with the company he kept, because he didn't say anything. He just doubled down on a really bad tweet. Given that G2 handled everything in-house and they had Carlos step down as CEO and then, kind of put him on hiatus for a while, why would Riot feel any sort of need to intervene further when there's been no violation of the league rules? It's not like the Reggie situation.
I would just respond with this. Timing matters a lot here. So I know nothing about the Valorant situations, but it seemed like with how long the application process was going, and it was going to be finalized really soon. The fact that Carlos dropped this shit as soon as as early as it was, like right next to the final decision-making process, really fucks him and G2. And on top of that, they didn't. It's not as if G2 made the response of letting them go, and then the Valorant, spots and partnerships were announced. It was G2 fucked up, or at least Carlos fucked up. They gave him a 2 months vacation in a way, and he didn't really walk back anything. He actually just kind of doubled down on top of the last double down through his likes. And then Riot was like, it seemed like, this is the timeline. I know nothing, by the way. And then the decision was like, okay, G2 got kicked out of partnership. And G2's like, fuck, we're actually losing money off of this shit now. And the decision was made internally. So I think the timing really matters here.
Yeah, I just want to wrap. Okay, Mark, if you have something.
I'm gonna wrap here for me. Most of the time Riot has rules that kind of operate like God rules, which like are in the sense like, yeah, we can kind of do whatever we want. Like I think there's probably a rule in there about like making the like league look bad, or like operating as a figure of the league. Like, you know, they have these kinds of things, which like, what does that really mean? And then they can just kind of like tuck things under there if you're ever doing something that they don't like. As well as the fact that like you don't need to break a rule for them not to decide to work with you for Valorant. Like they can just go to a different org, because there's, from my understanding, there's more supply than there is. No, there's more demand than there is supply. There's more people applying than there are spots available, and so it's very easy for Riot to go, okay, well this guy is radioactive. Let's go over to this org instead. And I'm sure it wasn't like necessarily a specific rule broken for them to make this decision.
Yeah, I just want to wrap this up because I think I see stuff in here that is just, I've seen this sentiment repeated elsewhere, and I assume it has to be from folks who are very ignorant as to the situation, or they are being intentionally obtuse, because they say things like, wow, I can't believe this person didn't get in because they were just hanging out with somebody. If I really think G2 would probably be in Val right now, and Carlos would be the still in the position he had previously, even if he had hung out with this person, if he played his cards right afterwards. And I don't need to like go down and explain the entire PR strategy that they needed to employ, but there were so many points of time to get off that train. So no, I don't think it's that they kicked him out of the org, or that they didn't make it into Val because he hung out with somebody. I think it's because he made so many fucking stupid decisions time after time after hanging out with somebody. And like, to me, that just demonstrates like their poor decision making as a leader. Like, it's wild to me that anyone would pretend it's something else. Like, you are being intentionally idiotic if you are saying, oh, they did this because he hung out with somebody. Yeah. He had so many times after that to save it, to the extent that like, I have this reaction because I'm just shocked like I've thought historically that he's been pretty savvy at a lot of the stuff and has figured out how to like ride the lane on things like, haha, actually I didn't poach, but we poached, haha, but we don't poach. Like he's usually really good at that line, and I guess he just did like lost track of where it was. And so that's why I'm so fucking surprised that people still have this idea that like he did it, he got kicked out because he hung out with somebody. No, you're being so disingenuous with that. Anyway, Horizon, what were you going to say here at the end? Do you have any shout outs?
Yeah, I do. Just shout out to obviously you and your sponsors. Keep up the great work, seeing all the stuff that you did, especially at the finals, which was amazing. And then shout out to Sam Houston State Esports. We'll be having our first LAN of the year. Well, really, I guess of the semester, you could say, in Sam Houston. So we'll be doing that. But shout out to all those guys and all the hardworking crew there, and appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Thanks. Have a good one.
You too.
Alrighty, we got a lot of callers, so we gotta go a little faster and start slamming through these Worlds takes finally.
You're good. Let's do it. Mark is off to grab the next person. Thank you to Retro Paint, Washi, 504 Caesar, and Team Corey Mid for 2 years. Thank you, Team Corey Mid. Mark is coming back with our next caller, and we're going to start moving faster on some of these Worlds takes, which usually works out easily because somebody will say something like C9 will win Worlds, and then we talk about why that's probably not likely, and then we move on to the next person who will say that EG wins Worlds. So here we go. Treethan is here. Treethan, where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from Jersey City, New Jersey.
Jersey City. And I've probably asked you this previously, but are you going to Worlds in New York?
Yes, I got tickets for the first 2 days of groups because quarters is going to be boring probably.
Great. Well, is that your take, or what do you want to talk about tonight?
No, my take is let me just get it real quick. So I think Kaori will absolutely blow everyone's expectations out of the water. Paired with Vulcan, I think they will smash and go far at Worlds, even if they didn't have that much time.
All right, we will do the annual Worlds. Please define what far means discussion, because it's the constant for the show. What does far mean?
Out of groups.
Okay.
You know what? That's a tempered take for far.
Take it.
Majority of people don't get that far, so by definition, that's kind of far.
And to be fair,
I was on a Zale stream earlier, and he was like, he was saying logically, he's saying Kaori wasn't a bad player, but with all the circumstances behind how EG subbed everyone out and slotting someone in, it's going to be difficult. But I think Vulcan's a good enough support and to really handle everything correctly.
And I do want to point out that they are in plans, so saying they'll get out of groups means they make it at least 2 stages, not just the one. So maybe that's
they're definitely getting first in play-ins.
They're getting first in play-ins.
Yeah, 110%.
Okay.
Raz, tell me how you're feeling on the EG train specifically with Kaori.
I mean, it's actually better than what I thought it was going to be, so I'll take that. So I think they're actually meshing a lot better. But nope, they're not taking. First in the group is a take for sure. I think there's a chance for it. Beyond Gaming, I think, has some problems that I'm like. I've been watching this team actually fairly recently. Their finals and their semifinals, their upper bracket finals, and I'm impressed with the team's like coordination and team fighting. I think some elements of the game is still needs work. So, and also, Fnatic is also going through problems. So first place in the group.
They're boomed.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Boomed is a strong term, but
I don't know.
I mean,
that.
no,
Bro,
Mark, you can't say they're
if
boomed.
EG
They have two. They have 2 subs. EG has 1. It's like not.
And
Hey, they had
theirs is more
time with their
recent.
1 sub.
We've had Kaori now for like a month. They've had their sub today.
Definitely
Okay, to
not
get
a
to
month,
my
my
point,
friend.
They had Bean last Worlds, to be
I
fair.
can't do math.
To get to my point, I think for sure they'll get out of play-ins. I think they'll just get destroyed. They're going to be put in the worst group, aren't they? They're going to be put in the hardest group. They're going to be put in G2, Dom 1. Let me quickly look at it. Actually, I'm trying to find the main stage one.
They're supposed to be in Group C, I'm pretty sure.
That's the projected group.
Or Group B, excuse me.
Yeah, so they'll get in G2, Dom 1, and JDG. And we're saying they're getting out of this group, guys? Unless the only thing that can get them out of this situation is if both, I think, European teams get out, if I'm correct. Because there's still a room change for like you can have 2 European teams in one group if there are 4 EU teams. But Very likely they're getting put into JDG, G2, and Daman. You know where I'm putting them?
All right.
You know what I'm putting them? Dead last.
No faith. Zero
brother
faith,
in
Raz.
Christ, let me explain how we get out of Group. I know we said we weren't going to look this far ahead, but now I have to do it. Okay. Some Chinese team, some LPL team always crashes and burns. That's
True.
JDG this year. Okay.
Oh my
G2
God.
is already mentally boomed from the Carlos drama.
Isn't it normally LPL first seed that booms?
Kia is going to have Danny ego tripping about who the fuck is going to be playing for him. He's not going to put Nuggery, and he's going to keep Bertle in the whole time. Bertle is going to have a meltdown. The team's going to struggle. Canyon's not as good as he was. All right? We're in there. It's easy.
Raz heads in hand because Mark is right. That is
Mark
exactly what's
definitely-
going on.
Bertle.
Mark definitely needs sunglasses to hide the red eyes after a take like that.
No, here's the thing. If I recall, a group like B can actually be kind of good because what could happen is the other three teams could all be taking games off of each other, right? And so it lowers the floor, I guess, of getting out of the group, right? Whereas like
You're right,
maybe you
they
only
would-
need to win 3 games or something like that to get out, or 3 and win a tiebreaker, which NA always does great in. But like, there's a world here where the chaos of Group B bodes well for EG.
You're right. They're going to be taking games off each other. But the thing that will unite JDG, G2, and Damwon is that they're all taking games off EG.
There's
The lack of faith absolutely stings, Raz.
all right. We're getting ahead of ourselves with the group takes. In play-ins, Raz, what's the chance you think that EG gets out of play-ins and makes groups, whether it be through the first seed or getting second and then beating presumably Mad Lions or whoever they bump up against in the knockout stage of play-ins?
I think it's pretty high. I think there's still a lot of fear to have, obviously, because of that take. I think getting third or fourth in Group A is the Demon's hour, because you're for sure going to be playing either DRX or RNG, depending on how well Mad Lions does. You never know in this stage of the game. But if you take second, yeah, I actually think they have a really high chance of going through. I have faith. And the faith doesn't come... people will focus a lot on Kaori or Danny, like the lack of Danny. But like they have definitely been successful playing through Inspired and JoJo and Impact, and Vulcan roaming has always been a take. So I think they're going to be far better off now than they were in playoffs when everything was happening at that moment.
Well, I think people overestimate how rough it can be to have a sub on a team that's like really good, because I think oftentimes the subs will sometimes rise to the challenge, and we saw Kaori rise. I think he did not like go out to finals and choke a ton, right? In Chicago,
Yeah.
They pushed to 5 games, so I think it makes maybe the Kaori stuff is a little overrated. I don't think they're getting out first in groups, but yeah.
It depends, because I think it was the caller's point. I don't remember who made this, but like last time, Fnatic came to Worlds and they didn't have Upset, who was, by the way, that was their entire bread and butter. They played through a dominant bot lane, and they didn't have that. They struggled. And it might happen here, but I think the competition, they should be able to deal with it. Whereas EG, I think they can change. I think they can change. They showed they could. It was a struggle, though, in the LCS, and they need to use this time properly. So I'm in the solid camp that's exciting of saying we'll wait and see. It depends.
Treethan, thank you for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we go on to our next caller?
Yeah, for sure. I want to shout out Raz's Twitch stream that still hasn't happened again yet. That Twitch clip is still sitting in my notepad, Raz.
Don't do it.
You
Don't
said
do it.
you asked for the chat to hold you accountable, Raz.
You
That is
did.
all I'm saying. You're the
He
one
is
that said
correct.
to hold you accountable. That is it.
Treethan
Have a great
got
have a
onto
great
the
night.
show just to call you out, I think, is what's clearly.
Oh my God, I forgot.
Following him for days.
Thank you, Treethan.
We'll
We'll
haunt
catch you
him
next time.
forever. See ya.
Have a good one. All
He
right.
has a nuclear weapon, which is an out of context clip, so I'm ready for that one.
I think we can go one more call and then we'll do the announcement. Mark is off to go grab them. By the way, Raz, we have an announcement that will happen during the show. That's a big deal. So you can chill during that time, but it's pretty cool. Moonfish, thank you for the 23 months in Chabot. Thank you as well. Mark is back with Youngblood. Youngblood, where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm calling from Manila in the Philippines.
Oh, awesome.
Ooh, let's
that's really
go.
cool. We love international callers. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Kind of a hot take, but I have BYG placing first in Group A.
BYG is going to get first in Group A in plans. Why is this going to happen?
At first it's kind of like a gut feel, but after everything that went down with like EG losing Danny, Fnatic also losing their bot lane, and Chiefs are popping off, and I feel like, honestly, I feel like multiple things have to like line up for BYG to place first, but I think with the state of EG and Fnatic right now, I think a wildcard team like are gonna catch them lacking, and maybe they take games off of them, and BYG is gonna like get pops like straight to first. And also I think like in a solo lane centric meta, where like I think BYG is like a team that can really acclimate to that and make sure that Lekai and Minji like really have some pop-off games. I've covered like PCS games on like the Leaguepedia website, and from what I saw, I think like they have some like pretty up and down games, but in this sort of meta where like it puts a lot of like emphasis on top and mid, I feel like BYG has like the highest possibility of like acclimating to the meta. So I just want to get your thoughts too.
Yeah. So first off, this is a PCS team for those that are less familiar with the plans teams. Mark, Raz, actually, how much have you been doing? How much have you been doing plans prep and research, Raz?
Oh, I've been doing a lot of it. So I have about
okay, perfect. So you and Mark can
27
discuss
pages
this
of
because
this
I know
nonsense.
Mark has been. I've been trying to talk to him, and he'll just say, "I'm just grinding VODs right now." So he's been in it. So
I have watched. I don't know even how many best of fives in the last week. Literally every major regions playoffs involving the teams that made it to World Series, plus a couple of the minor regions. Sadly, PCS is not one of the regions I've gotten to yet. They're on the list for tomorrow.
Yeah. I usually hold off on PCS teams as well, and it's mostly because we've seen these players, and I have the most respect for the PCS teams and like the game quality, but I've watched like some of the games, but then I've not watched any of the other games for any of the minor regions throughout the year. So I'm like, okay, I'm grinding all those other prep first, and then I'll get the PCS, similar to what you said.
All right,
but I got you.
So what I will say is I've heard a lot of hype about Wacko. I know a lot of people were tweeting that he was gonna turn some heads. So I'm hoping that will line up well with some of the issues that the rest of the teams are kind of having through their bot lane. We talk about EG obviously, as well as Fnatic having substitutes in there. Brantz for Brazil Loud is also like, he did very good in playoffs, but I heard that he wasn't as great during the regular season, and like playoffs kind of became like the AD carry show in a lot of ways, where like if you're on a winning team, you just look like a god tier AD carry. So we'll see how he gets tested against like these other major region bot lanes and stuff. Chiefs, God, I love the LCO, but like, no offense, guys. I'll leave it there.
Raz, how about you?
I think there's a chance for Beyond to do better than people I think were initially expecting when these groups got drawn, or like if you had shown people this.
Can they get first, Mark?
Summer.
Can they get first?
First is pushing it for me, but I haven't done my full VOD review yet. So like, of course, there's a big fucking.
You're gonna be halfway through a match of theirs and just go, "Oh my God, these guys are getting first."
I mean, they got beat up pretty hard, I'm pretty sure, by Flying Oysters. So like, I don't know.
I think Flying Oysters are just that. Oh, go! I want to hear from the caller.
Yeah, Flying Oysters just really good right now. They're the much more well-rounded team, whereas like I think BYG plays like certain team comps. Like their support like usually goes for like the big engage facilitator stuff. Same goes for Husha, their jungler. Minji is kind of like their melee mid specialist. Like we in the PCS like to call him like budget cream. So yeah, there are certain things that really have to line up for them in order for them to like uh you know get a really good feel for their games. But I mean right now, from what I saw, like especially in Champions Queue right now, like their solo lanes have been really surprising me, and I think they've improved from summer playoffs. So I really feel more confident about them going to play-ins.
I was
Yeah.
watching a Minji on Akali shit on someone in Champions Queue. I can't remember who it
Oh,
was.
God.
Just right before.
Kind of dropped.
All right, let me get to my point, which was I think Beyond definitely has a chance. Like I think it's gonna be between them and I want to say them and EG, just because I do think the Fnatic news would hit them hard. And I don't really hear any information of like when they're actually coming and if they're going to be playing from the beginning. And I do respect Beyond Gaming a lot. So the games that I've seen from them, I think they're great team fighters, and that's pretty much like their biggest attribute. Lakai as a split push force on his Gwen, Fiora, stuff like that. I think I enjoy that a lot. So I do think they have a lot of positives. The one negative a lot of the times is that they'll pick like early game compositions and then get control over an objective like Drake and then lose it because I feel like they just don't know. They just don't ward line bush as much as they should. Like they just constantly would get destroyed by flying oysters that's contesting objectives late because they didn't actually set their wards like well enough. They would be sitting on 4 control wards and then just never place them down in the line bush until much later on. That in and of itself pissed me off because it just happened. It kept happening. But yes, I think Flying Oysters, people will be really surprised by them because like Shun as an AD carry is just really talented and versatile. As Draven's really strong, and Rest is definitely definitely the best fucking player on that team. But anyways, going on to Beyond, I think people are probably selling Beyond short just because they got clapped by Flying Oysters, but Flying Oysters should do really well in the tournament. And they'll just be a strong team fighting team. I actually was pretty impressed with Minji because of his Talia play. His Talia and Silas play I thought was really nice. But they're the team that we know the least about because they played on 12.14, whereas every other region played on like 15 and I think one played on 16. So they just are playing. They played competitively so far behind in the patch. So they're the team that actually has to adapt the most.
What do you think about Fnatic? Since we don't really have a Fnatic call and they're in Group A, like obviously I felt like watching their playoffs. Upset was fucking beasting a lot of it. Like he had some oopsies games, but he was just like slamming Lucian and then just like, yeah. I mean, obviously the series they lost, it wasn't great, but like a lot of the series getting to that point, he was pretty incredible. Humanoid obviously can gap a lot of people, but like it felt like Razork kind of like camped a lot of lanes, tried to get people ahead, and then they kind of just like had to out hands a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's how it looked to me, where they played like a lot of really aggressive stuff, and Hilly was like just always looking for plays. I think I saw the weirdest play of my life watching a altless Lulu flash on top of someone melee range in a team fight to like I don't even know what. It was the craziest shit I've ever seen. Hilly's unhinged. And he's not here now. So like I don't know. He feels like such a part of any team that he's on's like fabric of how they play the game.
Yeah, I feel like if we don't get those two players in the knockout stage play-ins portion of it, Fnatic will not get out of play-ins. They definitely need them by knockout stage, which I don't think is like a crazy take. I think there are too many strong teams in play-ins right now, so they need them by then. I don't even give a damn if they have no practice time, no stage time, upset just and Illisang like spawn in the knockout stage qualifying round. Like I think they will win because of them, but they're a team that really relies on their duo lane to perform at a high level. It doesn't even have to be Upset. Upset could be having like an iffy game, but Illisang will be an active force on the map early. They need them, in my opinion.
Hey, we lost our caller. I just noticed.
No,
he disappeared like 5 minutes ago. Where have you guys been?
I don't. Oh, he's back in the. He's back.
Should we get him for shout-outs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Youngblood, we pulled you back. Sorry, I guess we lost you. But I pulled you back if you want to do any shout-outs here at the end of the call. You're muted, by the way. So if you want to.
Hi again. I really apologize for that.
No, you're good. You're good.
All good.
Any shout outs you want to make here at the end of the call?
Yeah, shout out to all the PCS fans. Also, shout out to you, Travis. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Where hopefully your call ends up being correct and you can look like a genius and get all the attention within the week. So thanks so much, and we'll catch you next time.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, see ya.
Thank you.
All right, it is time to announce something very exciting
boy.
that I have been working on in some coordination with Mark for this past I don't know, several months or something. So obviously Worlds is in North America, and wouldn't it be cool if we got to do a live Hotline League during Worlds for
I
everybody
would
who
love
wants
to
to
do
come
a
out?
live Hotline League.
It would be cool to do a Hotline League. Wouldn't it be cool if we did one at all of the American stops, New York, Atlanta, and San Francisco?
It would be cool to do one in each city.
Yes, it would. What if we did one before the first part of groups, one in the middle of groups, one before quarterfinals, then one before semifinals, and one before finals for a full tour of 5 live Hotline Leagues? And what if we pulled for the first and last episode a very good friend of mine named Peter Pang to be a guest host on the show? I'd like to introduce to you the TGI Worlds Tour taking place across 3 major cities starting next week. I know it's a little short notice. 10/06 in New York, and running across the following dates for all of Worlds. This will be Mark and I. We'll have Doublelift joining us on the 6th and the 4th, respectively, the first and last episode of the thing. And the whole thing, this is what's really cool too. The whole thing is brought to you by Chipotle and Grubhub. And so I'm really, really excited we were able to get these partners on board. They're making this show possible. We are super excited to be doing this. It will be in-person audiences. Ticketing information will come soon. We're working on getting that to you ASAP because I know how important it is, because I know all of you are going to fly out specifically to these cities just to go to TGI Worlds Tour. But yeah, this is really cool. We're also working on some cool stuff. I'm crossing my fingers we get it all in a row for the very first episode, but we should have some shirts available. We're basically styling the whole thing like a big concert tour or festival, and so we're hoping to get some like shirts and posters made so that if you do come out for this, it should be pretty cool. And we're figuring out if we can do it in time, but trying to partner with a couple of the LCS orgs who are already doing some events in some of these cities. You can make some guesses as to which ones would be in which cities and all that stuff. But so you should have some other cool things happening at least at a couple of these events or shows that we'll be doing. So this is very exciting. We've been working on this for a while. Mark is going to be flying back and forth between LA for a lot of these, but it's going to be really great. So we're super excited to see you. I don't know, Mark, if you want to say anything.
No, I'm stoked. I always love doing live Hotline Leagues. They're a lot of fun. I think, especially, I don't want to spoil too much, Travis, but it's not going to be quite like Grubhub Feeding Frenzy. I think some of these will be a little bit more intimate.
Yeah, they're a little bit more. They're a little bit more kind of what people might remember from the early days of us doing the live Hotline Leagues. So we're looking to find some really, really cool venues, but still nothing. If you watched the finals episode, it's not necessarily going to be like that where we have this like giant stage and all that stuff. It's going to be more, you kind of expect to go to like a really cool bar in New York and check out the show, or in these other areas. So they should still be really cool, but they should also be at a scale where if you get in, you get to hang out with a bunch of other league fans and watch a show in kind of as you said, a little bit more of an intimate venue. So
I'm 19. Don't do a bar, please God. No, when we do these, I think there's almost always a under 21.
We're figuring it out. We can't make promises at this time.
We can't
before
make promises.
Mark
Never mind. Unfortunate. If there's a lot of them. Hopefully
we're moving. Well, let's just put it this way. As long we've been planning this for a while, but we are still trying to make sure we can get great venues, and obviously we'd prefer if everybody can attend. But let's just wait a little bit before we figure everything out.
I'm sure Raz will be there. We'll get a lot of guests as well from the community who will undoubtedly
let's wait
show
to
up.
see who's going to be able to make it before we say
everyone's going to be there. You better be there too.
Before
Travis,
we commit to anything. Yes.
It started with Doublelift sleeping on your couch, and now here we are. He's going to be sleeping on the Hotline League couch as someone's giving a very boring take.
Yes.
That's what, full circle. I will say, by the end of that New York trip, you better have a translator ready for your future guests.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, I think
really cool if all the Korean fans came out. The LCK fans are all showing up.
I think we're gonna try our best. I mean, I know there's a ton of people from North America that are like different, streamers and players and all these people that are going to be showing up at these events. And obviously, because it's esports, you tend to have to book people in like last minute. But I think I'm fairly confident that people are going to be looking for stuff to do, and hopefully we'll be able to get some really great folks out on the show. And I mean, it's going to be really cool. Maybe later on. In the show, I'll be able to tease kind of the early mock-ups we have of the posters and the shirts. But yeah, it should be pretty cool. So I'm really excited about this. My team is working really hard to make sure that these things all feel really cool, and we're trying to partner with some cool people, some neat venues. We've got some great stuff going on, and all that stuff is. I would have liked to have been able to tell you guys, here's how you get RSVP for tickets, or we might, I should mention we're looking at least for some of the shows, maybe doing a small thing, just a cost just to get in, because we want to make sure that people who sign up are actually going to show up, and sometimes asking people to actually commit money to it is a good thing. But we're trying to make sure that it's super affordable, real easy to get in. We're working on some cool stuff with our partners who will hopefully make it feel like it's a good value for you guys, even if you are spending $5 or $10 on it. So either way, very excited about this. I hope you guys are excited. I just tweeted it out, so if anybody wants to go tweet it or quote tweet it or retweet it or reply, it's always a great way to help get the word out, because obviously our first episode would be next Thursday, a week from this Thursday. So
I retweeted Doublelift because he tagged me in the post, unlike you.
Great.
Fantastic. Stronger social media presence than T. Gafford himself.
He had more time to plan it out. Okay, anyway, it's very exciting to be able to do this, and I'm excited about this. I think it's going to be great. And I just realized I messed up my tweet and have to fix it because I tagged the wrong Chipotle. We love to see it.
Another W for... Never mind.
Everybody who's going and tweeting this out, please, or quote tweeting it or whatever, please retweet the next one that I fixed, where I fixed the sponsor tag. There we go.
Are you going to be posting this on Reddit as well, sir?
I don't know. I guess maybe when we have some more information. I kind of don't want to overflow anything. So we'll see. But
all right. Well, you fix your tweet. Should I get a caller here?
The tweet is fixed. I want to give a shout out. Well, I think what we're going to do now is we're going to roll into our Grubhub ad, because technically that's not a Grubhub ad, and we want to shout out Grubhub as well. So thank you to Grubhub for sponsoring the show. They do a bunch of cool stuff. They're obviously sponsoring TGI Worlds Tour in partnership with Chipotle, but they are also just a fantastic partner to the show. They've been sponsoring all throughout this year, and quite frankly, their help and support is part of the reason why we even thought about trying to do something like this.
Yeah,
so,
Travis.
Tagged the wrong Doublelift.
You may have tagged the wrong Doublelift.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you guys for doing this. Why does he still not have the right Doublelift one?
Another win for Peter Pan and his tweeting abilities.
Oh my God! Can you imagine not having this proofread, your copy proofread?
Oh, I had it all ready to go, but I think in the excitement for trying to get it all going, there we go. Okay.
Shout out to Grubhub for sponsoring the show, though.
It's now there in the second tweet. I tagged Mark because Mark is being a jerk right now. He doesn't get tagged in the third.
What?
Tweet.
I'm trying to save your read.
Okay, can everybody go proofread this right now to make sure we're good? Please let me know if I need to make a fourth tweet.
Thanks, Grubhub, for sponsoring this show. It's not a train wreck. It's absolutely incredible. And I love wearing Grubhub merch and bringing packages to Ashley. Anytime I get food delivered from them, from the door, I get to bring it up, pretend I'm a Grubhub delivery man.
Do you do that?
It's a lot of fun.
Is that a thing you do?
Yeah, I mess with her, actually.
Fantastic. Okay, the final tweet is out. Please go promote it. Thank you, Grubhub, for sponsoring the show. It's been very cool having them as a partner, and can't wait for TGI Worlds Tour coming up soon. Nobody noticed the multiple retweets and untweets. It's all good. Okay. David, you have to go. Okay, he did. He fixed it. Okay, fantastic. We're doing it great. There we go. All right, Mark, you want to grab the next caller? Oh, he's already doing it. Fantastic. But yeah, please go spread the word. Is Mark going to the event? Of course, it's Hotline League. Can't do it without Mark.
Someone needs to Photoshop Mark in this outfit, please. Just him delivering pizza or something. Anything. He's delivering us a topic, guys. That's what he's delivering us.
All right, Mark should be here in a second. I'm so excited about this stuff, guys. As frustrated as I feel with my own multiple tweet issues, I am super pumped to be doing the show. It's going to be really fun. Okay.
Guys, if you want more Travis Gafford content and amazing Worlds content, please blast this tweet. Look,
also,
do it for a friend.
Literally in anticipation of this today, I did order a Chipotle delivered off Grubhub. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, that was actually a thing I did today because I was so excited about it. Okay. Looks like Kissboy is here. Kissboy, where are you calling from?
How's it going, Travis? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm calling from Glasgow, Scotland, mate.
Gotcha. Okay. Are you... Oh, Discord's weird. It shows that you're muted. Glasgow, Scotland.
Yes,
what do you want to talk about on the show?
My take was that I feel there's a realistic possibility that Mad Lions, Fnatic, EG, and DRX all fail to make it out of play-ins.
Wait, really? Okay, wait. One more time. List all the teams.
There's a realistic possibility that DRX, Mad Lions, Fnatic, and Evil Geniuses all fail to make it from play-ins.
Okay. This seems less like a realistic possibility, but I'm excited to hear your reasoning.
Yeah, no worries. Mark would prefer that I kind of talk more about Group B. So when it comes to DRX, the big downfall of DRX for me is the return of Vietnam, and the old lore between those two regions in the past, where you've got obviously the killers that used to come in. But what I would say is all the noise that I've heard from analysts, opinion pieces on like from different people doing Champions Queue, doing their Worlds tier lists and things like that, everybody's rating DRX really low. Personally, I'm not a big follower of Korean League of Legends, but I'm seeing literally everybody talking about them like they're not going to make any noise at all. So with Vietnam being back, and also with what I'm hearing about teams from Group A, like apparently OS are stomping everybody in scrims. So like if an OS gets second in Group A and then DRX has to go and play against them, they maybe get taken out. Obviously, you've got DFM. Nobody's making noise about DFM. They've done well in the past as well. So you can't really count them out either. So there's a lot of things going on, and obviously you've already touched on EG and Fnatic roster problems, and Mad. There's precedent for Mad in the past not even making it out of play-ins, as well as Korean 4-seed. So there's precedent there.
So what? So I don't. Sorry, I know you mentioned a couple of teams. Who are your teams that are getting out? If you had to predict out of play-ins,
if I had to predict, I would say that it's going to be RNG. Obviously, they're going to stomp Group A easily, and then it's going to be Buffalo, Beyond Gaming, and I'm going to say if I would love it to be EG, but it's not. It's going to be Chiefs.
Do you think Chiefs gets out?
Chiefs gets out, mate.
That might be
Like,
okay.
okay.
Why Chiefs? Because this I feel like is the biggest fucking stretch of everything you've said.
Well, last night, this is all based on what I heard last night. Now, the only reason I'm calling is because I'm quite unwell and my sleeping pattern's upside down, so I've been catching everything live. I've been catching everything live, and I was hearing noise from Cadro. I think I heard noise from Doublelift, from Flowers, Kobe. They're all saying that apparently Ose is destroying scrims and just murking everybody and looking insanely strong at the moment. So if that's, I know there's the whole thing about the scrims buff and then you do terribly in real life, but like, I mean, imagine Ose does it finally. They're so easy to root for. How can't you want that to happen?
I'll say, in general, I hope that all this happens. Like, if NA is going to crash and burn, I hope everyone burns with us. Like,
Yeah, that's actually a really good way
teams don't get out.
of
KR
putting it, yeah.
doesn't get out. Like, God, that'd be so fun.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd prefer EG getting out, but to your point, it's a really good thing. Mark, what are the chances this happens?
All of it, or even a portion of it?
All of it.
Well, all of it. This is fucking parlay and a half. Let me tell you, this is I don't know. There's a lot of gambling jokes I can make about Twitch right now that I'll pass on. But let's just say this get you in a lot of trouble if you were betting on this to happen. I think there's like little nuggets of things that like make sense to me. Like I definitely, I think you're right that like I understand why people aren't hyped about DRX on a like tournament level, but for play-ins, I think they should still be fine. Deft and Barrel are pretty good, obviously. Zeka is, you know, I was actually enjoying watching him. I thought he was quite good. So I do think they have the pieces to compete. King and Piosik are just like, I don't know. Piosik at least has been to Worlds before. But he feels really flippy to me. I've seen him do some whack shit. So like, I don't think that they're a great team, but they should at least be good enough. I think that I wouldn't have to worry. Mad Lions, I do have some like legitimate concerns about. But yeah, that's my initial take. The Chiefs thing, like, oh god, I'll believe it when I see it. Scrim bucks can't make bets with scrim bucks. That money's no good here. Monopoly money.
Sorry for interrupting you. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, you're good.
The only thing with the Chiefs thing is that you could easily sub Chiefs for DFM. You could easily sub Chiefs for DFM in this scenario. Nobody's putting any respect on DFM's name.
I'll tell you how so from the prep that I had from the regions. So I know a lot of people talked about RNG and DRX being in Group B, making it very like one-sided. But I also feel as though Saigon Buffalo, who you're giving a lot of respect to, but also Istanbul Wildcats are the stronger, play-in regions. Like from the minor regions, I felt like that Saigon Buffalo and Istanbul Wildcats performed really well regionally, and I think would have been the stronger ones and would have contested if they were put in Group A. I just think that Loud, Detonation Focus Me, and Chiefs. Detonation Focus Me, I think, are a little stronger, but Loud and Chiefs I deemed as one of the weakest regions. And a lot of it comes to your point, I think what would make them good in scrims, what would make them good is Arthur is relentless with early ganks. Like, of the games that I saw, the amount of lane ganks that he attempted bot lane early on in games or top lane, and him and Aladoric do work pretty consistently of like attacking mid on timers that you have to respect. This does fuck with people early game in scrims if they're just not taking them seriously. And there's been a lot of teams that have fell to in their minds weaker scrim opponents because they weren't taking them as seriously as possible, and also the game pace was just really fast. But I do think that Chiefs are the weakest region, and the reason for that belief, as good as I think Arthur is performing, individually, I feel like still a weak point. As a unit, even if their their jungle support is their strongest part, other regions are just a lot better with working around jungle support. And their control around objectives and team fighting. They sack waves top lane a lot when it's not needed. I just think that they cut a lot of corners, and they will get punished for it. They're just lucky that from a play-ins perspective, they're not in a group against Saigon Buffaloes, against Istanbul Wildcats, against RNG or DRX. I actually think they were lucky being put in Group A, but it still shouldn't mean too much.
For me as well about... Oh,
sorry, Mark, you go, mate.
Oh, I was gonna say for the DFM point, like I think there's a period of time where like the LJL felt like it was on the rise, and they made some noise at some international events. I thought this MSI really took the steam out of their sails. It feels like the changes that happened from the roster from 2021, I believe it was 2022, didn't seem to serve them very well. They dominated their region both splits, 19-2 regular seasons, pretty strong playoff runs, and I think that they're a good team. But I don't know. I don't think that they can get it done since they were already struggling at MSI. Unless this roster, like watching them, I don't think the roster looks insanely better. It's hard to tell because they kind of crushed their region if they've really leveled up. But like that was not a compelling performance at MSI, and I expect it to be largely the same. Yes, there are concerns about EG and Fnatic. EG, I don't think the concerns are too significant. Yeah, they're not as strong as they were at their prime with Danny, most likely, but I still think Inspired, JoJo, Vulcan, and Impact can do enough to get out, most likely over a DFM or a Chiefs.
Quick point. I want to make a quick point. Oh, sorry, you go.
No, dude, sorry, it's the lag. It's all good. You go.
You're good.
Yeah, nothing on you. Just the circumstance. And I think at least Detonation Focus Me were somewhat challenged. Like I felt like Yaharong in the finals versus Jet and Sengoku Gaming was a challenge. So I felt as though, okay, there's some pushback there. Chiefs, sure, there was at least one lost game, but they were dominant in that region. Like only lost once.
Yeah.
And it was in the finals. Had the highest, I think, win percentage, including playoffs, in the history of Oceania. So it's so hard to talk about a region, or at least talk about a team, and how they would kind of do against like international competition when that just didn't exist. They were just all pros. I know people were memeing EG and Fnatic for having 4. Oh, not Fnatic, yeah, Mad Lions for having 4 all pro, and of course like the faltering aspect. But they literally were just deemed as the best in every role, while still having a lot of, I think, glaring like points of problems that they needed to work on. And credit to them, they came to LA really early to find Scrim and just kind of like bootleg. And the regional representatives like that I got the chance to talk to have faith that they can learn and grow quickly. But that's what they need. They need to grow quickly.
I hope so much that Mad Lions and EG play in the knockout stage so we can get just so many fucking memes about JoJo welcoming Niski to North America with that game where he got 3 solo kills on him in Champions Queue, the battle of the 4 All-Pros, the LEC MVP, Mad Lions dropping out in 2020 as the 4 seed and like one of the only major top 4 regions to not get out, like of a play-ins before. Like there's so many memes available for that matchup. I really hope it happens. And the reason I'm concerned is like I don't think their bot lane right now is playing great. I think Kaiser has had incredible team fights at different points in his career. He's like been such a playmaker, but in playoffs I was watching him just be like way ahead of his team, trying to get vision before anyone else was ready, and just getting picked off a lot. Armit was really hit or miss. Unforgiven felt like in a 80 carry meta, maybe the least compelling of them that I was watching of any of the teams coming from Europe. And Niski, I felt like was trying to put the team on his back, but sometimes like he was trying really hard and just kind of ran it. So like, I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned for Mad Lions getting out here.
Random aside, but I hope that the broadcast.
Elioya is legit though.
Random aside, but I hope that the broadcast takes some of the Champions Queue stuff and works it into there because I think it'd be really fun to see them take like clips and content from Champs Queue and put it into the broadcast. So.
Oh, totally, man. That would be brilliant.
Yeah.
The times I was going to interrupt you, the 3 quick thoughts that came out of my brain. First one, when you talk about Mad versus EG, Jove was absolutely clapping Niski last night, so that'll be interesting. Next one was, I think that my take isn't actually that much of a stretch if you remove DRX from it. I think that Mad, Fnatic and EG are all actually quite at risk given the problems that they've had. Was the other thing I was going to say, and the third thing I was going to say is escaping me at the moment, but it was, we ain't putting any respect on Brazil's name, and I agree with the point you made about Turkey, Raz.
Absolutely. This is going to be the most exciting play-ins yet.
Yeah.
A lot of teams are in danger.
I do think that it's got
excited.
the potential to be extremely chaotic. Like, it's got the potential to for the Western teams in play-ins, there's a lot of threats because particularly EG and Fnatic, who are already dealing with inner turmoil, to come up against teams that seem relatively strong, even in the play-ins. I mean, they've got absolutely no hope if they make it to groups. Let's be honest. But that's the way it is. Sorry, I won't keep going on. I'm aware you're pushed for time.
No, you're good. You're
You're
good.
good.
I appreciate
the final
that.
thing I'll say is that the format is also fucking crazy because if one of the good teams underperforms, kind of like what LNG did in play-ins during that 2020 year, where they were like 1-5 or whatever they were, and then they just crush kids in the actual knockout stage. Like, imagine DRX like getting like the 4th seed in that group. Like, it's actually not that unreasonable that you get like RNG, Saigon, DRX
LGD,
is
right?
hinting a little bit, and then you get Mad Lions, and then they're playing each other in round 1, and then they're playing EG in round 2 or something like that, and then like, you know, DRX just crushes a couple major regions from the West before they make like group stage. You know, like some crazy shit can happen if like teams just like something weird happens. You choke a little bit during the best of ones.
Thank you so much to Kissboy for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we go on to the next caller?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Shout out to yourself, you boys. I've been watching League of Legends since 2013. I'm turning into an old man, and I've been here 5-year anniversary, mate. Congratulations. You deserve all the success. Grubhub, Chipotle, Alienware, all your sponsors. I'm glad they make you able to keep going with this, mate, because I used to drive around as an estate agent in Scotland, and you were the only thing keeping me sane between all my appointments, mate. So thank you very much. I've got a lot of love for you guys, and keep it up on the desk, Mark. You're absolutely brilliant. And you as well, Raz. The two of you are two bright spots on that desk. I've got a lot of criticisms, but maybe another time.
Please, another
I
time.
appreciate you, brother. I love you.
If you have if you have criticisms of Mark and Raz, please make sure that you call.
No,
in
not
again
of
in the
Mark
future.
and Raz.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. We don't need to hear. Anyway, thanks so much for the call. We'll catch you next time.
See you, dude.
Okay.
Dude, that was the best caller of the night, Travis.
Yeah. No. Fantastic. I just realized I never added your name in, Raz. So I will do that now. Towards the end of the show. Mark is already off to grab the next caller. But while he is doing that, let me shout out some subs. Oh, by the way, this is the last 20 minutes of my stream that we'll have during September. You can get cheap subs during September. It's like 20% off. And if you sub every month, you can like sub multiple months in advance. Like I have a person I sub to all the time. I sub 6 months early to his thing and saved a bunch of money. So I'm just trying to help you all save money by subbing to me. Okay. LOL BronzeFaker is here. BronzeFaker, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Mooresville, North Carolina.
North Carolina. What do you want to talk about on the show?
My take is that I think EG being a top team for NA is really good for the region, both playstyle wise and I guess for the production. And I think that EG goes against the status quo playstyle wise of every other top NA team that we've had, like 2016, 2017 TSM and the TL dynasty that they had.
Okay, so why do you say playstyle wise and all that stuff? You just like why is it good essentially?
So those teams essentially would almost be Korea Part 2, where they would never really win early game extremely hard. Against some of the bottom teams they would, but against like other top teams, they wouldn't really slam early game. They would just get one really good team fight mid game and then just snowball the game from there. It was never like insane early game plays or anything like that. And I think EG, that's where they really excel, where like they kind of forfeit Danny in the bot lane. They would always lose lane, but they would make good roams with Vulcan. And the inspired JoJo 2v2 is one of the best that we've seen out of a jungler and a mid laner in a while.
Okay, so let's dive into this. Is EG materially different than our former teams that we've sent to Worlds, Raz?
I was too busy pushing a content on Twitter.
Mark.
So material is different in a lot of ways. Go for it.
All right. Well, Raz listens to me. I think that they are not that different than some of the Cloud9 rosters who have gone in the days of yore. I think, like, I should say they're different in a lot of ways, but not so different in some others. Like I think JoJo is maybe the most aggressive mid we've sent in a little while. I think Jensen is like opportunistic, but not like as just balls out aggro. I think Perks played that way last year, but he's like not really. I don't know how you're going to define that. You know, like Perks made like just insano plays where he would just int or carry games. I feel like Niski, when he repped C9, kind of played that way a little bit. He was pretty aggressive. A lot of plays just weren't working. Blabber's been really aggressive. I think Inspired's a little bit more controlled than Blabber is when Blabber's unhinged on international play. But like, I think there have been lineups that have done that, like 2018, C9. I can like see some similarities to me between this and EG. So like, I think there's been more often teams that are more like the TSMs and TLs than the EGs, but yeah, I don't think that they're like 100% unique.
Yeah, best bet would be 2018 C9, as you said, and Jensen primarily working through LeBlanc and them just playing through mid as aggressively as possible. It worked for them really well. So I think, yeah, that would probably be the best example. And there's just not that many that we end up sending to Worlds that are seen as kind of explosive teams. Primarily, we're really used to sending a TL or trying to think another team. TSM, a lot of our teams that we send are just strong front to back teams that care so much about keeping control that they end up losing it because they don't have the hands. I mean, it's really difficult. So I would agree with you. I'm trying to think of another team. FlyQuest is a great example of that as well.
Yeah, FlyQuest, yeah.
All of the teams had a pretty similar identity, and Evil Geniuses. 100 Thieves also had a very similar identity. So yeah, I think EG to a core are coming in with that personality, whereas C9 had to change to that. So I agree with that. I think they're coming in as a different type of team.
Is this the only time we've sent two teams that kind of have that more, I guess what you would say is aggressive mentality? Because you have C9 and EG now, whereas before I felt like a lot of the teams were not that.
Clutch Gaming C9 year. I mean, obviously Clutch Gaming went 06, but I mean, I think those two teams,
they forced a lot of plays. Yeah, they were aggressive.
Yeah, they were a very different team.
There's like another case to be made about X2 Gloria or Vulcan, I think it was, something like that.
Oh, you're going way back.
Oh yeah,
no. So for them being a pretty explosive team with you have to go really far back for something like this.
Yeah,
but I don't think there's another team like that.
Onwards.
Okay.
2013 was a banger year with Vulcan, and you had ManCloud and Smithy popping off on people.
Yeah, that's probably my best example, and even then,
different
I don't think
Vulcan.
There's another NA team that had an aggressive team play style.
Well, regardless, we will see how things go. I think it's a little bit of a bummer that EG had their internal issues and couldn't. I mean, I'm happy for C9. I don't want to discount them, but like, I think that there'd be a much bigger hype train going into on the EG side if they had won and had gone through first seed, as a lot of people were predicting going into playoffs. But I still think it's really exciting, and hopefully, all of that hype that you're pushing, BronzeFaker, does not fall if our previous Scottish caller is correct and EG just fails to make it out of groups. That would be unfortunate to lose a lot of that, but regardless, it's really fun. I'm excited to see them play, and honestly, just a couple days, so should 100%. Be good. Yeah. BronzeFaker, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we go on to our last caller?
I'll just shout out you guys for doing what you do, keeping League entertaining for the past few years, ups and downs, but it's been entertaining for the most part. Keep doing what you're doing. Shout out to the sponsors.
Yeah.
Obviously, Travis Gafford Industries, all that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah. See you.
All right.
Fucking Raz.
Did you see the tweet?
I'm pushing content.
What is Raz tweeting?
Appreciate Basil Leaf for the tweet. It was so I asked during the show if there was any photoshops for what Mark was wearing as he was getting a collar, and Basil Leaf came through. Amazing artist, and she ended up finding this, which is Mark delivering pizza.
I guess I'll see if I can get it onto the. Well, I'll see if I can.
Well, you guys do that. I'm gonna get Lord Audie.
Yeah, go grab the last caller. Let me see if I can show this. Thank you everybody who's subbing, by the way. I see that there's like is the scam train going or did it crash? Scam train's going. Holy moly.
Nice.
But here, let me pull up this wonderful art piece that we have here.
Thank you, Travis.
Made by Basil Leaf. I don't know if the image will show in full, but
Pizza here. Oh man, I love Grubhub.
that's really great art of. Anyway, okay.
Good thing he wasn't paying attention to the show that he's appearing on to tweet that out, right?
Hey, listen, I'll link it to Grubhub and they'll see it. Okay.
I have a taste for content, Mark.
Thank you to Basily for making this. All right, we got Lord Audie here. Lord Audie, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Queens, New York.
Queens, New York. And when was the last time you were on? You've been on recently, right?
Well, I was at the LCS. That was the last that I was. But yeah, I wasn't. Haven't been at for a while.
Okay. Well, what do you want to talk about on the show?
I just wanted to have a take about Guihotto. TL put the tweet out today about his release. So I just wanted to say that it might seem that he's going to be made the full person for the split for TL this year, and it seems that an LCS coach or any type of League of Legends coach is like the most thankless job that can be ever had in competitive league. If the team does well, everyone is like the players are popping, players are playing well, but if the team fails, then coaching sucks. So I just wonder, what is the incentive about like taking a position for something like that, more so when you have a roster that was perceived to be like a super team, of course, TM, and players that should perform way better than they actually did.
So I really need to go back and find, if anybody can find where in the previous Hotline leagues at the end of last year I was skeptical of the Guihotto coaching situation for TL. That would be great. Not because
I remember you being a big fan.
No, Mark, I remember you roasting me at one point in time on the show because you were implying that my take was bad, and I think
I implied it was a cold take.
I don't think that's true.
I don't remember. And until someone proves me wrong,
please,
we'll never know.
Please, somebody go find it. Regardless, I don't think that Guihotto is a bad coach as much as people are blaming him for this, but I don't think he was the right coach to coach this team. In the same way that I don't think that I would have put Anero in the coaching position for this team, even though I think Anero is a good coach. I think this team probably needed something, and this was, I think my take back then too, was they needed somebody like Grabs who was going to be more about facilitating the team and managing egos and differences and opinions for really big names, whereas Guihotto's strength, I feel like, has always been about overperforming with, like, not the superstar roster, if I recall. I'm trying to remember all of his LEC rosters, but, like, obviously when he joined Immortals, I think that team did a lot better than people expected, and I think a lot of that was because, or at least the sense I got, a lot of it was from Guihotto's coaching, and from talking to people over there, they thought he did a really great job. So that's kind of my thing here, where it's like, I just think he was put on the wrong project. Because I don't think that the super team was ever going to be the thing that would have been the best bet for him. And I feel like, yeah, it's unfortunate because now people will say he's a fraud, for instance, like I see in Twitch chat or stuff like that. Whereas that has not been you can usually talk to the players on the teams and find out which coaches are frauds. And I've never heard that about Guihotto. So I just don't think that that's what the deal was. But I appreciate your take, Lord Audie. I think it's a fair one. But also, isn't this kind of the way it works in all sports, Mark? Like, team underperforms, coach is usually the first to go?
Yeah, it's pretty common. So I don't think that... how you put it, like, the team should have done better. So, of course, like, as the kind of one steering the ship, it's on you. But also, there is always a, like, well, we're going in a new direction now. Goodbye. Kind of thing that happens with teams that underperform.
I mean, the irony is he might be a better fit for if they do end up running like a more mixed roster of younger talent and older names. He might have actually been a better fit for that roster that TL might run next year than this one. And so it's the irony of letting him go now is perhaps unfortunate. Anyway, sorry, Raz, you were going to say?
When it comes to fits, no one knows. It's only up to speculation, to be fair. And I do think I have a lot of respect for Guihotto as a coach. I think he was the right choice for the job. I do think that it's hard to say like who the bulk of the blame goes to, and maybe they'll probably say that it was like a mix of all of the above. Just a reminder, because I myself also kind of got sold into the train of Team Liquid. I think everyone did, that they would win at least one championship this year. They did come with some like barriers, with Whipple coming back into the top lane. We didn't know what form he was. Erickson coming back to the role. Don't know what form he was. I think they both came to a position where they were still top 2 in their position at some point. But I think the surprise to me was specifically Hans Sama not performing. And when I say not performing, I mean on a consistent basis. There were games where he came in and he looked really strong. But my expectation was that he would come in and Hans Sama Core JJ would be the best bot lane in the LCS. They were maybe around top 4. As in like 4th or something, because you say Berserker and came through as a really strong AD. FBI was still a little better. I'm already forgetting. I'm already blanking on. Oh yeah, Danny, of course, during the regular season had a monstrous performance. I felt like a lot of the ADs in the LCS stepped up, whereas Hansama actually, as a team that was centered vocally playing through bot lane, not what I saw from when he was on Rogue. So I think there was just a lot of things that came together, and I wish I knew more to speak on the coaching conversation. But yeah, I agree with Travis. I think the fraud talk makes no sense. He's already kind of proved himself when he was on IMT.
I watched all their and read their content today, both the exit kind of interview that they published with him and Core and Ben, as well as their like, we made each other worse YouTube video.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was
Go ahead.
That was, I don't know. I mean, I want to say that I used the word amusing, but then, this comes out, and then before that, there's that 20-minute video about just reinstating like one of the arguments that was made at the beginning of this like team forming about, well, you have too many cooks, too many strong personalities on a team. And, I think Steve, in one of the interviews, early interviews after locking, which of course he's going to speak what about his team, but he was just going like, they get along well, they respect each other, they understand how to play the game and all that. He's not going to badmouth the team, much less this early into the split. But at the same time, it felt that this was going to happen, given the way that the way that these personalities are basically coming into it. And then coming off a win, that's fine. But the moment that they start losing is then when those things start coming to surface.
Yeah, I think so. For me, in the interview and that, it sounds like there was no like actual personality conflicts. It just sounds, I'm sure there were a lot of arguments, but not like actually, we hate each other. But on the too many cooks point, it sounds also like they just fundamentally don't play the game the same way. And so even if they say they're going to agree to like one method or something, they can't actually execute on that because they're too set in their ways about how they play the game. It's like if one player wants to go in and one doesn't, you're like, yeah, I'll follow your call. And then the player goes like, I'm going in here. And you're like, okay. And then you're like a second late and it looks like shit or something. So I think
there's no commitment. There's no actual commitment to it because you're instinctively thinks about playing the game different.
It's not about commitment necessarily. It's just about like, if that's the player you are and you've been your whole career, it's hard to change in less than a year. And if you're also changing what you think you should be doing, as well as like the exit interview that they kind of did where they're talking about like, what everyone needed to work on. It was like everyone needs to listen better, but also if everyone needs to listen better, then how is it not working kind of thing. Like there's a lot of stuff there that makes me just think that like the roster itself probably wasn't well constructed in the sense that like it wasn't going to work. And like, could any coach have made it work? I'm not saying necessarily Guihotto did a great job, but like you say put grabs in there, maybe that fixes it. But like, I don't know.
Two things. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I mean, it's not like there's any footage about these players playing any point in the past that can be seen and see how these players play, and then someone determine if they can actually play well together given their styles. I mean, they're just rookies coming without no experience before that. So, I mean.
So, the 2 points that I wanted to make. Number one, specifically on a trend that we heard from Team Liquid throughout the year was like hey, do we want to just be a one-trick warhorse like the Azubu Blaze idea of basically we are just a really strong bot lane team. We're only going to play to bot lane. We're going to have different variations of bot lane. And this is just who we are as a team, and we're not going to work on anything else. We're just going to be insanely good at this, which is like eventually what they started to come to a conclusion on. But something that they kept running into is like, we are such a good team, which is true, that we should be able to play through top lane, play through mid if the circumstances are right in the draft. Like, we should be more flexible. Every team that is really strong comes to this decision, and more often than not, the players who are confident, the coaching staff that's confident, will go to, we should be able to play anything. Because what happens if the meta plays towards top lane or mid? We should play that. And I felt like just kind of lost their identity, especially like there was that one time on stream that Whipple was talking about how, in retrospect, they should have just committed more to bot lane. This was during the off season, probably just a week ago. They should have committed to more to bot lane, even if when bot lane wasn't performing. If there was like one bad week, which everyone will have, right? Everyone will have a bad week in scrims. But we had a bad week in scrims towards Hansama, so we're gonna try and change things up. Maybe, but in hindsight, you're like, well, maybe we should have just committed to it and lived and died by that situation. So they made that call. Happens. And also to the construction of the team. A lot of the times, like the G2 construction, the Fnatic construction, when you're making a super team, you're doing it off of current performance. But it felt like for this one, they made the decision off of like the potential. Like Bjergsen in for Jensen, that was based off potential. It's like, we know that it would take a long time, but we think that we know he's a bigger brand. It felt like that was a brand decision, but we also think that in time he can be better than Jensen. Same with Whippo being a strong brand and everything, and he was a dedicated role player that was going back into the position. So like these are decisions where I felt like we're running in conflict with the identity of a super team being strong from the get-go. But anyways, I just think I don't personally blame the coaching decisions. I think Andre is a really great coach, and he'll find another opportunity to prove that.
Yeah, I think that's very well said, Raz. I don't know. I'm very sad if Guihotto leaves North America. He didn't say anything in his announcement or anything, Mark, about what he's doing next, right?
Nope.
No.
Okay. Well, I hope
He's always said
different.
at some point. He said this on broadcast a while back that at some point he wants to find himself in the CB LOL because he wanted to be able to be in that region and like work in a Portuguese team. So I don't know if that. I hope that isn't rushed to now. I would like to see him given another chance in the LCS.
Yeah, no, that's fair. All right, thank you so much, Lord Audie, for the call, and I appreciate the take. Team Liquid continues to just deliver us content in the off season when no other teams are. So or
them and G2 are providing.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Lord Audie. Anything you want to shout out before we start to wrap up the show?
Yes, I would like to shout out my wife that fell asleep during the show. I would like to shout out the whole staff of the LCS. We went there for finals, not finals, for playoffs, and everyone on this call was able to take a pictures with us, so we appreciated that. And then lastly, shout out to my people in Puerto Rico that were hit yet again with another storm. So anyone that can donate to trusted charities, that will be appreciated, and hoping for a speedy recovery for them.
Yeah, no, I think to your earlier comment, Numi, I think we met you with Numi, who's in the chat at LCS, and so I do recall that. Two, yes, I hope everyone can stay safe, and for those that are affected by the hurricane, I hope best wishes to them. Actually, a bit of an interesting story or personal story is Jordan, who normally edits the Hotline League show and makes all the thumbnails and all that stuff, messaged me this morning, and she lives in Florida and is actually having to evacuate. So if there's a unusual thumbnail tomorrow or things take a little bit longer, it's because she's not going to be handling the show this week. So I don't know, it's always crazy. But yeah, best luck to everybody who's involved with that. It's a spooky situation for sure. Lord Audie, thank you for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I think that is the show. Mark, you want to pop back up on camera today so that we can see you say goodbye?
Oh, I didn't realize I wasn't because I got so blurry there for a bit.
Yeah. I don't know what you were doing on your end, but anything right now we only see your hat. I don't know if you want.
I'm a Grubhub incarnate.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
I'm an avatar of Grubhub.
Anything you want to shout out?
Everything I say 100% reflects. No. Shout out Worlds. It's starting this Thursday. I'm casting the games.
Damn, I thought it was
You know
gonna be
what?
something else.
You know what? I'm just gonna say it because I'm fucking crazy. I'm casting with Captain Flowers. First
Wow.
set of games. We
Are you
got
excited?
Goldberg hopping on with us for the EG versus Fnatic match, which is game 2 of that day. So everyone better be fucking watching that shit. It's gonna be hype. Also, Blame Game coming out this week at some point.
Did you change the blame game from what we talked about earlier today?
No.
Oh boy. Okay, it's gonna be a spicy one. All right, Raz, how about you? What do you want to shout out?
Well, I'm not gonna leak anything like Mark did.
Well, Captain Flowers apparently already did according to Twitch chat. So
Okay, there we go. We can flame Flowers then. No, I mean just shout out to much like Treethan. Apparently, I need to stream or more clips will be sent out without my willing and want of this. But yes, I'll be streaming more frequently. Tomorrow will probably be the first. I don't think I have anything tomorrow, so I can say that. And yeah, watch for Worlds. We'll be on that tour. I will probably be on the couch at some point as a guest of your show. I tried actually in Chicago, but
make
the
it
show
out,
was basically layered. It was in the back of the entire
Yeah.
event.
No,
And I
we'll
kept running into
we'll make sure you get there. I mean, we're trying to find venues that are easy to get to from where everybody's going to be. So, I'm sure we'll get you at some point in time.
So I will try. I'll try for it.
I always think, by the way, just an aside, I always think it's funny that like people are like, "Oh, we got to keep the casting assignment secret," as in like, "Oh no, if people know who's casting what, it will ruin the world's experience." I think everybody should be able to say when and what they're doing. Either way.
I don't think there's a specific mandate not to do that. I think most people are just unsure if they should or shouldn't, and people err on the side of caution, so they don't.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm
it.
trolling, but I don't think people have been like, don't spoil. I think there's like before the announcement goes out, they don't really want you to do it, but
Yeah, I
after
think
the
there's no
announcement goes
rules
out.
regarding this. It's just nothing.
Yeah.
They just don't want to be that guy.
Either way, thank you to Chipotle and Grubhub for making TGI Worlds happen. I hope we can see a bunch of you guys there. We have another surprise test coming out later this week. It might get delayed because our editor, I don't know if Mark knows this, our editor got COVID, and so
Yeah, I saw that.
he's been struggling. So best wishes to our editor on Blame Game and Surprise Test. Hopefully he gets better, and hopefully the everything comes out on time. It's a crazy week. We got a lot of stuff going on. We'll see you next week on Monday. Wait, are we gonna do it Monday, Mark?
No.
I mean, I fly Wednesday, so I guess we could do it Tuesday night if you wanted to, because that's when Plains finishes.
Plains end Tuesday night. I'm flying Wednesday as well, so I think that might be best is to just do it after the show.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Although it looks okay. Yeah, it should end at
It should end like 8 or 9, right?
Yeah,
Starts
yeah,
at
yeah. So I guess we could
noon
just do a
or
late
something.
one. Maybe we do a short one or something. I don't know. Either way, we'll see you next week, probably Tuesday, and then we'll have another show on Thursday. So it's going to be a
Live.
crazy week. But either way, thanks everybody for watching. We'll catch you all next time.